Lager here with the weekly newsletter, one-on-one with me, Bianca Lager. Let's dive in. New question of the week. I have a great job and manage a team of 4. We get along great and do pretty well. We get good recognition for our work, and we've been together for a few years with little turnover. However, I've been feeling really frustrated lately and keep trying to get the team to take more initiative. Nothing is working. I feel like I'm constantly finishing up details that they have missed. I'm happy to help, but it just feels like this is the stuff they should know how to do themselves. I'm worried to bring it up to my boss because I don't want to make my team look bad. Any tips? Well, certainly have some tips for you, and fabulous that you are overall generally happy at work. I always like to say that these are the types of problems, these are optimization problems, right? Like, we're doing pretty good, I like my job, things are going well, but how do we get to do a little bit better? How do we improve upon the fact that we're doing well? How do we do great? So congrats and kudos to you. Sounds like you run a really good team. It also sounds like you have fallen into some leadership traps that we all fall into, especially women. So women out there, if you're listening, paying attention, you've probably been here before. So let me give you a few tips that I've learned along the way. I have fallen into these same traps. And when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking about consensus. I was thinking about, I'm personally a servant leader. And so people get confused a lot of times with what servant leadership style is, and that it's always seeking united consensus. And there's consensus is an important component, I think, of strong leadership, because I don't personally subscribe to like the authoritarian style. I've never thrived in an environment like that, and I don't think really anybody does, especially post-pandemic. Like, we're not here to listen to people order us around like we're in the military. We're not. This is just life. We're all just trying to get by and get along. Like, we don't need to be jerks to each other, or I don't need to feel like a 5-year-old at work, right? So finding common ground is important, I think, at work. I think it's important to, be alongside your teammates and the people that you lead. Be a guide on the side, I always say, is I'm here to support you. But that can very much look sometimes like you're constantly just reacting to whatever the opinion is of your team, and or it can lead into you actually micromanaging too much, or not managing or coaching more directly enough so that they're a little bit lost without you, really helping them along. So I wrote down a couple notes. I think that you have to recognize, the different strengths and weaknesses on your team, and discuss ideas and explore ideas from everybody in a way that opens open communication, that involves everybody in the tasks at hand, but ultimately is guided by you, if that makes sense, right? So I don't know why it necessarily jumped out to me, and maybe this is just my way that I've had experience with building teams, is that I immediately thought about like group think, and how we're kind of, as leaders, can kind of fall into a trap of feeling like you're being just responsive to whatever it is that they need, and making sure everybody's happy all the time. So while we want to foster, sharing ideas in a collaborative environment, there is a very fine line to walk between kind of people pleasing the folks in your team and having an open forum. So that's just kind of a quick and dirty thing. So you are kind of walking this line, and it sounds like really you're doing a lot of executionary work. You're doing a lot of individual contributor work. And as a manager, and I'm going to assume that's probably your job title or something like that, you should be doing some of it, certainly. Like I said, kind of a guide on the side, being in the trenches with your team, it certainly is helpful. And I think that like there's just times where you need to do that. But what your job is now is to improve their performance. It is to dedicate your time to making them better individual contributors. Okay, so how do you do that, right? They're really struggling with taking things on themselves. It sounds like initiative, you said. So I think they're kind of constantly looking to you to see if things are okay. And you're looking back to them and sort of just doing things for them when they're not getting it done, or when they're not, getting started or getting motivated on their own. So I would say that, you have to start creating a healthy separation between where you are and your contributions to them as a manager, and where they really need to lead and take it over. And what this is going to look like is they are going to make a lot of mistakes. And you are going to have to do your best not to fix them. Okay? We're not going to protect them either. And I'm going to get into that a little bit, because you mentioned kind of wanting to protect them a little bit. And so have some thoughts on that too. But giving them space, what that looks like is being very, very clear about what the deliverables are. Now, this is going to require a lot of work up front, because you're going to have to do a lot of work with your one-to-ones or meeting agendas or whatever it is, providing a lot of structure with exactly what we're going to get done, exactly the criteria that you need met, and be really, really clear about roles and responsibilities in each project. We need to do this project or X, Y, and Z. I am going to contribute X, and this is what I'm going to do. Tina, I need you to do Z, and Bob over there, you're on U and Y, whatever. I'm just literally throwing random letters. You get what I'm saying. It is going to look a little bit like you're going backwards for a second, because what you're going to do is establish new ways to hold everybody accountable. And this is going to require some digital collaboration tools, whether it's a shared to-do list, whether it's a tool like a project management tool, or maybe just like utilize your Google, workspace more. But what you need to do is keep the documentation and hold them accountable towards the documentation of what you ask them to do. And so your job is going to a little bit look like a task driver, but rather than keep things vague and then, think, well, Cindy will just finish it up, or like, yeah, I got it close enough, but she'll just edit it the way she likes it anyway, so why bother? No, you're going to let it stand on their own. You're not going to edit it like that. You are going to say, this is your deck to build. This is your presentation, whatever it is, and you have to let them own it. Now, are they able to come to you and say, I'd like your feedback. How would you edit it? Absolutely. That's what you're there for. You are there to make yourself available as a lifeline. You're there to establish that, again, you're the guide on the side there. And should they need your input, that's what they're there for. However, you don't need to send notes on absolutely everything. It's probably most of the stuff that they're going to do is not going to be the way you would do it. It's probably not going to meet your standards of excellence. Now, you have to find a way to provide very constructive and specific feedback so that they can elevate their work to those standards. However, this is going to bring me to the overprotection issue that you brought up. It doesn't do you any good to protect them or hide this from your boss or another team members. As a matter of fact, any leader that you're looking to worth their salt is going to be the guide on your side to say, well, tell me about how you're planning on fixing that and how can I support you in doing that. They're not going to fix it for you, right? Nor should you ever go to somebody and say, hey, can you fix this for me? But you do need to talk with somebody about this specifically, because there's personality traits here. And there's also a little bit of an expectation that, let's say you let Tina make her slide she does a presentation. It doesn't look that great, or maybe she didn't present the information in a super clear way to your boss, and you're like, oh my God, like it's driving you nuts, and you just feel like it makes the whole team look bad or whatever. Well, when you've already had this conversation that it's like, hey, I'm really working on Tina growing her presentation skills. And, she's struggling with it, but I want to give her some air and some space. So if you notice, me backing off a little bit in that area and her leading the way, that's my effort to do so. I think your constructive feedback would be really helpful here. I'm giving her feedback, but it's going to take time, I think, for her to elevate these skills. So bear with us, stay patient with us, something along those lines. That's a really constructive way to communicate that you're actually working on growing these people and that maybe you're struggling with specific areas. But by being very detailed with roles and responsibilities, it'll also help you identify these specific weakness areas that you can zone in on and improve. Now, each person might have a lot of weakness areas. You're not going to be able to solve them all, but you are going to be able to identify exactly where the weak spots are, prioritize the ones that are really urgent or really affecting the work at hand, and work with that individual on improving those skills. Are you going to have to let some things slide? And is it going to be a bit painful, a bit maybe embarrassing, a bit annoying? Absolutely. At the end of the day, the work that needs to get done, it will get done successfully, but they will never learn how to take accountability and take initiative and be resourceful and fix it themselves if you keep fixing it for them. It's just never going to happen. So there's so much more I could say on this topic, and I certainly work a lot. I've worked myself with an executive coach, and now I help organizations actually figure out how to improve their process management like that and get into the nitty gritty of like, okay, what are we doing now? What are our time wasters? What are ways that we can communicate better? What are our weak areas that we need to work on? What are the weak areas that we could just, we don't love them, but we can ignore? It's tough work. Performance management is tough work. And I definitely am happy to hear that you're happy at your job. Otherwise, this is going to make you so much of a better leader. These kind of experiences where you're really training these folks to be better performers, this is what separates, the executive leaders from the leaders that never really get farther in their career. Your ability to coach and improve the performance of your team on individuals and then as a team as a whole, that's the type of skill building that you really need to work on for the next level of your leadership career. So thank you for the fantastic question. Probably one of my favorites, I think, ever. This is just like the area of expertise that I have the most experience with and I'm probably the most passionate about. So I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Blink Weekly Newsletter. Thanks for joining.